The boy who would become Genghis Khan was born as Temujin around the year 1162 in the rugged steppes of Mongolia. It was a brutal world, endless grasslands, harsh winters, and warring clans that viewed loyalty as negotiable and mercy as optional. Temujin's childhood wasn't shaped by lullabies and wooden toys. It was forged in betrayal, starvation, and blood. When he was just 9 years old, Temujin's father was poisoned by a rival tribe. His family was immediately cast out, abandoned by their own people. His mother, Hoelin, became the only pillar in his young life, a fiercely resilient woman who gathered roots, hunted wild animals, and taught her children how to survive in a world that seemed designed to destroy them. She wasn't raising farmers. She was raising survivors. That exile lit something inside Temujin, something cold, something calculating. He learned early that power wasn't inherited, it was taken, and held onto by force. The boy who once cried from hunger would grow into a man who made entire kingdoms kneel. One of his earliest lessons came not from warriors, but from wolves. The Mongolian steppe was filled with them, stealthy, loyal to their packs, and ruthless when cornered. Temujin admired them. He saw in their discipline a blueprint for unity. His tribe had failed his family, but the wolf? The wolf never left a comrade behind. That image would stay with him. As he grew older, Temujin started attracting followers. Not by noble birth, but through charisma and merit. He promoted warriors based on skill, not family name, a radical concept at the time. He'd look a man in the eye and say, "You fight well, you eat well." This reshaped Mongol politics. In a world where sons of chiefs expected to lead by default, Temujin broke the rules, and the old guard hated him for it. His loyalty to blood, however, was complicated. One of his earliest blood brothers, Jamuka, would become his greatest rival. They swore oaths of eternal friendship as boys, but when power entered the equation, their bond fractured. Jamuka wanted the old ways, power through aristocracy. Temujin wanted the new, power through loyalty. The result, a series of brutal battles, culminating in one where Jamuka defeated Temujin and executed his captured soldiers by boiling them alive. Temujin escaped, and he remembered. The lesson was clear. Mercy is expensive. He wouldn't make that mistake again. But Temujin wasn't just a military man. He was a strategist with an eye for the long game. When he eventually defeated Jamuka years later, he didn't just take his enemy's head, he absorbed his network. He welcomed former rivals into his ranks, offered positions of power, and unified the Mongol tribes under one banner. That's when he took the name Genghis Khan, universal ruler. From there, the world changed. His armies didn't march, they thundered. Mounted archers could fire accurately while galloping at full speed, outmaneuvering larger armies and vanishing into the horizon like smoke. Genghis didn't just win wars, he rewrote the playbook. But for all the destruction, there was method. Cities that surrendered were spared. Cities that resisted were erased. It was psychology as much as warfare. Fear traveled faster than horses. One massacre in one city could prevent 10 future wars. He pioneered military intelligence long before the term existed, using scouts, spies, and deception. His armies carried signal flags, code systems, and even fake dummies on horseback to exaggerate their numbers. He used captured enemy engineers to build siege weapons, adapted foreign technologies, and turned diversity into strength. To Genghis Khan, your background mattered less than your loyalty. And then there was the law, the yasa. It wasn't a written code in the modern sense, but a set of principles, strict, clear, and enforced. No kidnapping, no theft, no aristocratic privilege. Religious freedom was protected. It sounds contradictory. An empire built on conquest that also enforced order and promoted tolerance. But that was Genghis Khan in a nutshell. He was a man of extremes. He executed his half-brother for hoarding food as a child, but spared scholars, artisans, and poets in cities he conquered. He created a passport system across the empire to protect trade routes, yet razed cities to the ground if they resisted. He built one of the safest and most efficient trade networks in the medieval world, while also being responsible for the deaths of millions. He trusted few, but when he did, it was absolute. One of his closest generals, Subutai, came from a blacksmith family, considered lowborn. Yet Genghis elevated him to lead campaigns across Europe and Asia. Merit, not birth. That was the rule. Even diplomacy was a battlefield. When one of his trade envoys was executed by the Khwarezmian Shah, Genghis didn't just retaliate, he annihilated the entire empire. His message was brutal and clear: touch my people, and your world ends. Still, the man was not immortal. In his later years, Genghis focused on consolidation. He appointed loyal family members as governors, ensured succession lines, and continued to campaign, never fully trusting peace. He died in 1227 under mysterious circumstances. Some say he fell off a horse, others whisper darker tales. His body was buried in a secret grave, and all witnesses were reportedly killed to keep the location hidden. Even in death, he wanted control. But his influence, that didn't die. The Mongol Empire would expand further under his descendants, stretching from the Pacific to the Danube. He reshaped the Silk Road, altered world demographics, and laid the groundwork for globalization centuries before the term existed. He was feared, he was hated, but he was also respected. Even in modern Mongolia, his legacy endures, not as a barbarian, but as a national hero. Statues, currency, a name that still carries awe. He was not a man shaped by ease or comfort. He was sculpted by desperation and danger. Genghis Khan rose from the ashes of abandonment and built an empire out of dust and discipline. His name wasn't passed down, it was earned, sharpened like a blade through years of hardship. He understood timing. He knew when to strike, when to retreat, and when to wait. He forged alliances with those who once hunted him, turning enemies into assets. His sense of destiny wasn't born of arrogance, but of relentless drive. To Temujin, failure was just a stepping stone to domination. His sons and daughters were raised not with privilege, but with pressure. They were expected to expand the empire, to carry the torch of ruthlessness and reform. Many of them succeeded. Some faltered. But all lived in the shadow of a man whose ambition was both their inheritance and their burden. He reshaped not just borders, but minds. His rule forced civilizations to rethink power, mobility, and resistance. He was a mirror, held up to the empires of his time, reflecting both the chaos they feared and the structure they lacked. To the peasants, he might have seemed like deliverance. To the rulers, a nightmare come to life. So what shaped Genghis Khan? Hunger, betrayal, survival, loyalty, wolves, revenge, vision, and a relentless belief that the world belonged not to those who waited, but to those who seized it. He didn't just conquer land, he conquered chaos. And in doing so, he left behind a paradox, a man who ruled through terror but demanded justice, a destroyer who also built, a warlord who unified, and a name that the world still remembers, often with fear, but always with respect. If you think more untold legends like this deserve the spotlight, hit subscribe, because we're just getting started.